This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. So last session we were discussing about how do we create a server, right, in Amazon, and after that how do we connect to that server is what something we're actually discussing, right? So yeah, let's go and talk about that once again. So that means anyhow I need to create a server, and that's where I will just go and create one machine. I just bought a new Windows box. Let me see, is it ready? Okay. So here. So this is just a Windows box because most of you are Windows guys. So I just kind of but how come again this came? 1 second. One minute. Okay, I got it. Okay, I don't know. So I somehow my password I forgot it. Okay, I'm not sure. That's okay for now. So anyhow, I've already shown you yesterday, or even let me open the old one only. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to create a server. So, and that particular server, I'm actually trying to, open in my Windows box, right? So yeah. Now let's launch a machine. So how do we launch a machine? I shown you already in the yesterday session, right? So we're going to create a launch instance, and from there you're going to click on launch instance, and from there you're going to Here it is. So here is a launch instance. Click on launch instance, and in the AMIs, list of AMIs, you should be searching for DevOps practice. You search for that, you'll find out this AMI. All right, so select it and just choose T2 micro. Don't go with any other instance at this point of time. So we'll talk about using other instances later, but for now this much. And you don't have to change anything here, add storage, add tags, add security group, nothing. If you want launch, you can go with proceed without a key pair. Okay, you don't really require a key pair there. You just move on. So this is what you got it. And you got an instance, and it should be coming to running. And once after it comes to running, so we'll just go and try to connect from the Windows box.
Raghu, what is the advantage with going with a key pair and without a key pair? Is it only security or?
It's two different ways, right? So it's different ways of authentication. So you cannot actually directly compare that way, but it's different types of authentication, right? So some companies, like let's say some mobiles, they allow fingerprint, some face recognition, some by PIN number. It's all different ways of authentication. Username and password is a very standard one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got a public IP. So now let's take this public IP, and I hope you are everyone able to install the this particular software, which is PuTTY software. So let me just paste there, and here just prompts for yes or no, just give yes, and root, and capital D, capital O, DevOps 321. Okay, it's not 1 2 3, it's 3 2 1. Okay, you got the prompt. All right, so this is how you connect it, and you are in your machine. So this, and you can start executing the commands there. So what all the commands we have practiced so far, you can start practicing in your Linux box. No problem. That's one thing. Second thing, so okay, you don't want to install PuTTY also. Let's say you don't want to install PuTTY also, then you can just connect to this particular guy using the EC2 instance connect. And so I'm not sure without a key pair will it work, but let's see, root, and just click on connect, and ideally it should ask for the password, and we'll be entering the password. Yeah, so this guy works with some kind of keys. I also never tried this option, but it was recently introduced. Okay, this AMI doesn't support the instance connect. Okay, EC2 instance connect. I need to look in there. Okay, so this is my AMI problem. I need to look in the options what I can do to allow my instance connect. Okay, so otherwise you have an option here. You can use this also. Okay, that is another thing. And or else even Katakoda while you're practicing it, right? So we can go to our here. And anyhow, we are going to here this one. If you just start the Linux administration, you get the terminal. So previously, if you go with the previously when you went with the Linux basics, there was nothing running actually here, right? Now I'm trying to set up something so that the SSH part will work. Okay, I can directly connect from this particular node also. I mean, node in the sense from Katakoda also. And also in the meantime, if you're a Linux guy, or Mac guy, or Linux, anything is fine. If your operating system is Linux or Mac, you'll be using the same one command. So SSH root @ the IP address, and you hit enter. It just prompts for yes or no. You have to type yes, and it should be prompting for a password also. You have to enter the password. In my case, it just goes in automated way. I just did some automation, but don't worry about that. You'll be prompting yes or no. You should be running that like SSH root or something @ this. You just do this. Here also it happens, right? Yeah. So it usually asks for yes or no. You have to type yes, and then the password DevOps 321 you should be entering. Yeah, then only it will work. Now, or else I can go here and give SSH root @ the IP, and yes. So Katacoda also you can connect, but this Katacoda connection, there is no guarantee. Sometimes it will not work as expected. I don't know the reasons, but still this connection sometimes will not happen. In that case, you just open your terminal and you proceed. Okay. But these are the different ways. Either you connect it from here Katacoda while you practice this, but only while completing these Linux sessions only. But later we'll use our own terminal. We don't really bother. Okay. So about Katacoda. So these are the different ways of connecting. So either if you're a Windows guy, you can go with those client utilities. PuTTY is one of the one which I am telling. There are 10, 20 different tools which are available. So you can go ahead and explore. As such clients, you keep it. You'll get different tools. Like let's say if you're looking for tabs, one window, multiple tabs, okay, kind of thing. There are a lot of tools available. It's an end user choice. You can go ahead and so explore if you are really interested. Okay, so that's fine. And yeah, so coming back to the point, so Linux administration topics we're going to talk about now, and we're going to start with process management. I see a question in the chat, or even if anyone have any questions before starting, just let me know. The question is, you can also use RDP. RDP is for Windows. Linux is a different thing, right? Linux uses SSH protocol, and whereas Windows uses RDP protocol. So that's where you use remote desktop client, RDC, I think, so to connect to that particular machine. Okay, so yeah, it is a Linux. So since you'll be using the SSH, the Linux clients basically at the client of SSH. Yeah. Anyone? Any other questions before proceeding? Okay, all right. So let's start with the administrative topic. So what is the administrative things which you have here is so process management. So in your operating system, your server is used for what? Server is used for serving something. Okay, so then we'll serve something. Okay, fine. Then we'll serve something, and then so how the serving will be happening from the server side. Okay, there should be some processes running. Even your Windows also, you open something, so then you go to your task manager, you'll find out some processes running, right? So you can see that. Let me show you. So if you go to the Windows and go to the task manager, you will see a lot of process running, right? So they're telling the process name, how much CPU memory it is using, and things like that. But there's a lot of process running out there, right? So all the process, do you know? No, you know only certain process basically because you're using them, right? So Chrome, you're aware, SSH client, you're aware, or task manager you open, you're aware of this. And the remaining process are all the background process, which you don't really know what is this also. But those processes are there to run your operating system. To run your operating system, those processes are there. The same way, okay, Linux also. And if I want to stop something also, then I can use the task manager and I can do something, so probably here right click and like let's say end task if I give, so you can see that back putty gone. Okay, so if I give Chrome, end task, then the Chrome will be closed, right? So you're actually trying to kind of control it from here, right? Task manager. So it is doing two things. One thing is actually showing you the list of process, Windows task manager, and actually from there only you can stop the process. Okay, but Linux is a bit different that way. So it actually does in two operations. One command to list the process, one command to stop the process. Okay, so that's how it is different. So here a single window is showing there, the two commands will act into picture. That's it. Okay, otherwise it's going to be otherwise it is going to be same operation. So you'll find out the process and you will stop those particular process. Okay, so that's the idea. And now, so in Linux operating system, every process you run is going to create one process ID. Okay, so that's where we are going to call that as PID also. Okay, we're going to call it as a PID, process ID. So every process that Linux machine that every process that Linux machines runs is going to create one unique number in the backend. It's going to create one unique number in the backend, and that particular number is called as PID, process ID. Okay, and how do you get the list of process in your system running at that point of time when you ran it is going to be PS. Okay, so PS is going to show you two processes. The two processes showing is one is bash process and another one is PS process. So what process it is showing? It is showing the process which belong to me. I logged into this session and I'm asking my process. It is telling me that, you know, there's one bash process running, and you just executed PS. PS also is showing you. That's it. Okay, but every process having one unique number. You see this 4168, 4198. Now this PS you asked and it ran the output and it created the process and ran the output. Again you run the PS. This is a new PS. There is a new process again 4199, and again you run it. There is 4200. See, like this, you know, so every time your process is actually getting created, you're getting some unique number, some number, okay, and that's unique, by the way. All right, so PS is going to show you the process which is belongs to your user which you logged in and to the current session. So whatever the session you logged in, it shows that one only. But Linux is a multi-user operating system. Okay, so multi-user, multi-session, basically multi-user, multi-session operating system. But Windows is a kind of a multi-user, but not multi-session. Okay, so it's only, you know, single session. So that means one user can open only one session. The same user cannot open another session to the same system. So the Windows is a multi-user, but at the same time it's a single session operating system. But Linux is multi-user, multi-session. So that means I can open another, you know, another session and to the same machine using the same user. So it allows you. Okay, so that's where if you want to see all the process belongs to your user, okay, so then PS-U. So PS-U is going to show you the different process that root user is running. Different processes that root user is running. It is showing now more process it is showing. PS-U. All right. And the next thing is in the system, there are a lot many processes. It is showing the user level process. Even the task manager of your Windows is also doing the something, like, you know, in the very top actually it's showing in the top actually it is showing something, and when it comes to down actually it's showing background process, right? The system process or background process. Now here in my, you know, in my Linux also I would like to get something like that, and I would like to get all the process whichever is whichever I want to get all the process whichever is running inside the system. So then how do I get that? Okay, so let's go and okay, take a look on that. So then the next command is ps-e. ps-e is going to show you all the process running in the system. You see this? All the process number 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, you know, so many processes are there. Okay, including all your processes then. And so that's why, so generally we want to get all the process running in the background also, then ps-e is a common option we use, but along with another option, ps-ef. ps-ef is going to show you a little bit more information. And every process is going to have a parent process. Every process is actually going to be a parent process. So then that is called as PPID. Okay, PID is nothing but parent process ID, and there is something called as PPID also. Okay, so now you need to understand one small thing, that so one main process will be there. That main process, if it is running, and so some child process will be created, like let's say a shell is running. So that means you got a shell, you got a terminal, so the shell is running, right? In the shell, what you did basically, you ask for a PS command. So that means it creates one child. Okay, so for PS command, you ran it, it created one child, and PS command will take some time to run, process it, right? Probably you're seeing it immediately, but just think that, you know, it is taking some time. In the meantime, your parent actually goes into some kind of a sleep mode and just continuously monitoring this guy. Okay, continuously monitoring this guy. Okay, so this is what is going to happen, and once after it is done, it will tell to the parent that, hey, I'm done, basically. Okay, you asked me to do something, I did something. Okay, so that's a so this information, this parent to child process will happening, and then the main process, I mean, again, will be coming into running thing. Okay, so now you need to understand that, so most of your operating system process are sleeping process only. Okay, which will create some child process and it will monitor those particular processes. Now coming back to the point, okay, so now here you're going to have this is a parent where it creates a child. Okay, and this is become a child process. Okay, so if it create one more so child, then this becomes a parent, but still a child to someone else, but parent to some other child, basically. Okay, so this is how it is going to happen. Okay, but everything is going to be tracked with the numbers. Okay, so every PID is equal to a number, right? So that's where the relation will be there. So this child is actually, like, let's say this is the parent, this is the parent process number 100, and this creates like, let's say 101, and this creates 102. So now you see the hierarchy, clear hierarchy. Okay, 100 created 101, 101, and 101 created 102. So this is how generally you can give a track also in the operating system. So I think that there is a command called as ps3. I'm not sure if that is there. So yum install ps3. p3. No, sorry, 1 second. Don't worry about these commands, you will understand that. Yeah, now you're going to give ps3. It shows you the tree of your system, and I am looking for a numbers. It's actually giving the names, and probably I'm looking for a numbers -n, no, and -p. Yeah, if you see this, it is going to give you the process numbers also. So the first process actually started at 292240, so 974078. 1985 is also there, but 1985 started 1991 process. So this is a child to that. Okay, so here you can see this 2286, but it has multiple chains inside that. So Chundi, it has multiple chains inside. This is the process tree, basically. If you just try to look into the hierarchy, this is how it is going to be. So every process you're going to get one parent, and that's how you're going to get. The ps-ef is a general option. Why I mentioned is okay, is a common widely used option. It usually shows you the process and the parent process also. This is the major information you look in, and the third one is actually going to be so what is the process, and the fourth one is going to be the which user actually it is been running with. Okay, so now you can see most of them are root user, and what is the process ID, what is the parent process ID, and what is the process actually, process name of the process. So these are the quiet information. We'll do that. And most of the time we'll find out the process with the names only. Numbers you cannot remember. Either you find out with the user who is running, which is running, or else so the process name. So the ps-ef, now you know the pipe symbol. Yesterday I think we talked about the pipe symbol, so now you can start using pipe symbol. ps-ef grep for SSH. So from the long output you'll be saved with you'll be shown with only the output whichever is you need, right? So kind of thing you're getting it. Okay, so this is how you find out your process. Okay, so ps-ef is a very common option which you use, and you'll find out the process. But you look into the task manager, so that is doing 2 actions, and hence we are also going to do the 2 actions, right? So one is background process. Okay, so the background process is going to be let's run some background process. So now I'll see this, I mean, or else let me tell you this way. I want to stop some process. I want to stop some process. Okay, so to stop the process, let me do some process in the background. But how can I push this particular, see, like let's say sleep command is actually going to stop for the given number of seconds. So sleep 10 means the 10 seconds I will not get the prompt. 10 seconds I will not get the prompt. After the process completes only you will get the prompt. Okay, so that's where on the prompt side, what all the commands running are called as foreground process. But I don't want to run it in my foreground. Okay, I want to run it in my background. Then immediately I want to get my terminal back and I do some other work. Okay, so that is where the background come into picture. So foreground, if you are executing on the terminal on the prompt, then it is foreground process. But foreground process, okay, I don't want to run it because I want to push it to the background so that it can run it in the background. Okay, so there is no point actually I'll be waiting for 5 minutes, right? Sleep 300 is 5 minutes, so there is no point I wait for 5 minutes. I want to get my prompt. So that's where it's not only about the sleep any command. Actually, if you give ampersand symbol at the ending, it's going to push it to the background. Now it pushed to the background. Now you can go and find out it's a sleep process. So ps-ef for sleep. So now you get the process ID which is running for sleep. Okay, fine, 4271. Now I want to stop that particular process. Okay, so what is the command you have? Kill and the process ID of that particular sleep command. Okay, kill is a command I'm using, and 4271 is the process number. Okay, so now you give ps-ef for sleep. So now you can see this, there is no sleep process running, and even the sleep 300 was showing you that it got terminated. Okay, so ps-ef sleep is no more showing any process. So this is some grep command you are doing, right? So that command it is showing, that's okay, but normal sleep command it is not showing. This is a grep command output, not the sleep command. Okay, so this is how you can kill a process. Okay, but certain scenarios usually you will face some issues. Let me simulate the facing the issues. Now ps-ef I grep for sleep. Now 4299. So kill 4299. Now ps-ef grep for sleep, nothing happening. Okay, so now again I'll go do that, again I'll go do that, again do that, again do that, and again search for that, it is still there. It's not really going away. Okay, so what is happening is this process I made it busy. Basically I made it a kind of a busy. Okay, so don't respond to the get guy. Okay, so it's a kind of some kind of things which I did in the background. Now from here, so certain process, while you do it, basically while you try to stop the process, it will not stop. Okay, so that is where we want to send a forceful signal. Okay, I normally told to that guy, hey process, can you come out? So then what it will do is it will take that instruction and do accordingly, so that it will stop itself. Okay, that's what is the termination. Basically previously you already seen that, but now actually I'm telling to that guy is not listening to me. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to forcefully tell to that guy, hey, I want you to stop and I'm stopping you. Okay, so you're I'm just kind of an enforcing now. Okay, so how do I do that is a kill with a signal number which is called as kill -9, and it's actually going to be 4299. So now that got killed. Now it's telling you that got killed even, right? So it's actually showing it's a killed message. Now you go and give ps-ef grep for sleep. Okay, so that's how we generally going to go with okay, so forcefully stopping the process if the process is not stopping. Okay, but in general there are total 64 signals which are available that to interrupt your process. Interrupt in the sense sometimes it stops, sometimes it just kind of reloads. Different scenarios are there. So total 64 signals are there. Out of them, so what we used is kill -9 means signal kill. Okay, and as well as now the normal kill command, if you give, it is gonna be sig terminate we used. If you use normal kill command, it always uses 50 number, and we use forceful signal, so it is 9 number. So mostly 99% you'll end up using these two commands only, these signals only. Okay, so other signals, yeah, depends. So the most of them are programmatic basically. Beyond 15 it is all programmatic signals. We cannot actually do much there. Yeah, so I think, yeah, that's all from my side. I mean, not from my side. So that's all on the process management. So process management, what all the things you will be doing? You will be doing two things: finding out the process and stopping the process sometimes. Finding out the process sometimes, is enough things you do. Sometimes that you find out whether it is running or not. That's it. But sometimes you need to stop them and start it. Something like that will be there. Okay. So that's how process management, PS and kill command. Any questions on this?
Raghu, I have a question.
Yeah.
We are not giving the process ID for sleep, right? How does it recognize the sleep, the process ID?
Any command you execute, the system will create the process ID. We don't give the process ID. System creates them.
So if we wanted to sleep, make sleep some specific process ID, so can we do that?
No, you cannot do that. That's a system job.
Okay.
That's not your role. Yeah. So that's a system role. Any other questions?
Yeah, hello Raghu.
Yeah.
Hello. You only decide to kill the process. You only decide to kill the process. Someone send decide is something like that. You only decide to kill that particular PID of the particular process, or someone send an email to ours, and then you have to kill that process. You only decide.
So, so that's a process level, right? So yeah,
Okay.
there is no answer to say that, right? Basically, like let's say I will always understand within a very simple way. So let me put this way. So basically, if I'm running a very small shop, so that means like let's say I'm running a some small bakery. I will bake everything. I will also be a counter guy. That means I collect the amount and I will sell it myself. Now you go to a very big market. Okay, you'll find out a very big bag. So everyone doing someone doing the bill. Okay, so someone else is doing the so baking it. Someone else is doing that, right? So it's all depends upon the process. Okay, so you cannot actually. I don't see that as a right point of question basically. So someone says means if the process is designed to say that someone says to do that, you will do that, or else if the role of you is you will be taking care of that, so then you will take care of that. So that's all company's process level. I don't think so. It's a technical point actually. Yeah. Anyone? Any other questions? So there are some self-exploring tasks also I mentioned. So just go with them. Find out how to set some priority to the process. When you create some process, you can set some priority also. So that means if you if you have some process already running, you want to run some process with the highest highest kind of resources allocated to that. When you create any process, it normally allocates some resources to that. But what I want is I want to allocate the utmost I want to allocate the utmost priority to that particular one, or I want to put a least priority to that one. So how do you do that? So you can set some priority. So sometimes this is useful. So yeah. So but in our sessions we may not touch that particular point. So that's where I didn't explain that particular options. But yeah, in general, if you have some idea on that, so go ahead and explore about that. There's an alternate command also which is available, top command. So you can go with the top command and you can see the list of process also, explore the top command as well. And also some more things is what happens if you actually try to kill a parent process. Okay, now you're killing a child, one process is getting killed, right? Now what happens if you actually try to stop a parent process? Then what happens to its child? So try to understand that. Try to play them and try to understand them. So you've seen that PS tree. So probably, or you can see some process which is a parent is having or PS-EF if you type actually. So PS-EF, what happened? So ps-ef view. So you can find out any process which is, you can see this 4038. So that means this is the parent actually running this 4023, 4044. Now try to kill this process and understand what is the behavior. Okay, that's another thing. Also, there is something called as orphan process or zombie process inside the system. So try to explore what it is basically. Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's about the process management. And the next one is user management. Okay. So in the operating system, so we are actually going to have some users. Okay. Like let's say in an organization also. Okay. So we have a lot of users, right? So the operating system is also going to kind of support a lot of users here. Okay. So now you need to deal with how do you add your users, how do you update your users and things like that, right? So you need to manage the users. Like let's say a new user joined and that user will log into the system and he do his work, okay, kind of thing, right? So but we cannot share a single username and password with everyone, right? That doesn't make sense. So everyone should be having their own username and password, and that's where the Linux operating system also you have some user management. Okay, we'll be talking about the user management now. And also quite important thing is most of our applications run as a normal user only. Will not run as a root user. Root is root is an administrator. Okay, he can do everything in the operating system, and we don't actually run the things as a root user. Okay, so why? Because it's a security breach, right? So like let's say you are running some application. Okay, some blah 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 application, doesn't really matter. So you're running some application here. Okay, so while you're running some application, if you're running as a normal user, what happens? And if you're running as a root user, what happens? Now let's say this process is having some kind of a security loophole, okay, or a security vulnerability. Some hacker try to gain the access to the operating system. Some hacker try to gain the access to the operating system using that kind of security breach. Now he entered into the operating system. So now if you're running the process as a root, so that means you give the complete system access, right? But if he gain the access as a normal user, so then still he is limited with some roles only. Okay, unless until he performs some other attacks, at least some way it is safe. Okay, so that's where, okay, so normal users will not have all the permissions like doing or reading the complete system information, system related data. Okay, so or even so some data inside the system. Okay, so the normal users are limited to some activities. Okay, so that's where security comes into picture. So as a standard practice of security, okay, so we are going to run most of our applications as, not most, all the applications we are supposed to run it as a normal user. Okay, not a root user. Okay, so but root user is there where it's a standard user and it's an administrator. We are connecting to that user. So that part also I'll talk about that. But coming to the applications we run, so we talked about, right, already. What is our role? Our role is to run the applications on the server so that end user will access it, right? So now while I'm actually running my services on the server, so I have to follow the standards. Okay, security is a very serious concern actually for anyone. So we have to look into the standards. Onto those standards, okay, so we run the applications as normal user. And in Red Hat family, you cannot add a user without a group, by the way. Okay, so first we need to talk about adding a group, and then only we can add the users. Okay, so to add the user in CentOS, you use group add command. So group add and DevOps. So the group add and DevOps. But this group add doesn't give me any information saying that, hey, your group is created. Okay, so your group creation is successful. Nothing, no information is given. So that means I'm not sure that whether it is created or not, right? So that's where you can find out the information from cat etc group. So if you create the executive command cat/etc/group, then that's a file. Cat command, you know that, right? It's concatenate the content of the file. So etc group, and you can find out all the groups, and along with that your DevOps group which you created now. And this group also trying to put some unique number basically. So that's a group ID, GID. Okay, process ID, PID, group ID, GID. Okay, it's dealing with the numbers. Systems deals with the numbers, by the way, right? Systems deals with the numbers. Now you try to dial your friend on your mobile with the contact saved probably, but the contact saved is only for your context, but are actually not dialing a friend on the name. You're dialing a friend on the number, right? The number is the one which is acting in back. The same way, like systems deals with the numbers and users deals with the names, like human beings, basically users in the sense. And that's where always names will be there, but in the backend, the mapping with the numbers. Now you're getting one number, unique ID also group is also some unique ID, and that is 101. Or else, you know, the grep command, you don't want all the output on the screen, so you can just use cat/etc group, and you're getting okay. So DevOps, right? Now, so the above command showed that group has been created, that's fine, and now the group is ready so that we can create the user. And how do we add the user? So the user add, and I'm telling that -g DevOps and John user. You added John user, okay, into the DevOps group. Without a group, you cannot add a user, okay. So that's where now you can give ID John. So now John ID is actually created. So John user is also having some unique number, 1001. So this is a user ID, UID, okay, and it pointed to the group ID, which is 1001 of DevOps. He belonged to DevOps group. So that's the idea, right? And now let's say you can add another group also, group add admins I'm adding, okay. Now you can add this particular John user to other group also. So John user can be a part of multiple groups also. A single user can be a part of multiple groups. So that's where user add -a-g -add to a group which is admins, okay. Now you can check back that information again by using ID John. Now he is actually part of DevOps group. He's a part of admins group also. He's a part of admins group as well. So that's how you add a user, and you can, you know, map him to multiple groups as well. Okay. Now the next thing is you can go with setting some password to the user. If this user want to connect to the, okay, so and if if you want to set a password to the user, and that particular user will if you want to set a password to the user, and that particular password, you can use that password to connect to the system, right? So how can you do that is password. So there is a password command, passwd, and John. I'm actually giving the password is also as John, and I give John only. You can set any password, that's okay, but I'm getting John. Now actually I can connect to this particular system from my terminal. So probably or you can open putty session, anything is okay. What is the IP address of this machine? This one. And we connect with the John user now. What is the password? John. And these credentials will be shared to the John user, and now John user is actually inside the system, and he can execute the things. But he can do the limited things because he's a normal user. But also I told you that, you know, so the dollar symbol will be there, and also the dollar symbol will be there for normal users. Hash symbol will be there for root users, right? So that is how you actually log into the system. Okay. And just before taking any question, so one more point I want to mention. Okay, so this user which we created so far is a real user. That means John is a human being. But also to run the software or applications inside the server, we need those processes associated to the user also, right? So we need to run some applications, databases, and things like that. So those also should be run as a normal user only. Okay. In other words, we don't run the softwares. We don't run the softwares with the root user, so directly. Hence, we create some users in the system, and in OS terminology, we call that users as a daemon users. So they call it as daemon users. Some people call it as system users. Some people will call it as application user. Okay. So whatever the naming terminology it is not a human being, but still a user to the operating system. To the operating system doesn't really matter. So whether it is a John or whether it is something else, or it is a database name. For system, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so only for you to understand it. So there are certain users already there in the system, and all those particular users are not human beings. Okay, and you can grab also that information from one of the file, like list of users inside the system, by using cat/etc password file. There's a lot of users. Root is one user, and bin, all these users, and John is another user. Okay, there are a lot of users, and these are all system users or daemon users, which is doing some background work actually. Okay, the same way our applications also will run it as a normal users only. In just as an OS terminology, we generally call it as the core OS terminology, we call it as a daemon user. Okay, so yeah. So this helps in organizing the operations as well and improving the security, as I already mentioned. And so just want to show you some standard services. You can just run this script. You don't want to really execute this, but just to show you some standard softwares, like, you know, so Apache Web Server, Apache Tomcat, and MySQL database. Okay, if I run with these, I'm trying to run with this particular, I'm trying to run these particular softwares. And let's see whether it is running as a normal user or whether it is running as a root user. We'll try to look into the process. Okay, so now ps-e of grep for httpd. So you can see that this process is running as this process is actually running as, let me run it once again. So you can see this process is running as Apache user. One is there for root user, so it needs that. Okay, so that's okay, but the rest of the process, if you look in there, so it's actually running as Apache user. Okay, so ps-e of grep for Tomcat, you can see that it is running as a Tomcat user, not root user. You look for MariaDB, it's actually running for MySQL user, but not as a root user. So standard tools, okay, standard softwares following the standards. Even you are actually going to set up your application, and you need to follow the same standards. Okay, which you always run it as a normal user only. Okay, so that's what is the concept which you have in user management. And also from in a system, actually you can switch from one user to another user. So since this guy is a root user, he can switch to any user. Now he can switch to John user without any password, but John cannot switch to, like, let's say CentOS is there, he cannot switch to other user without a password. Okay, so because John is a normal user, root is a administrator, he can go anywhere, right? So that's the problem. Okay, so that's the security I'm talking about. If someone gains the root access, they can do anything. All right, so but we have to be very careful. All right, and so now if I enter the password, then you'll be taken to that particular user, otherwise cannot be. Okay, fine. And su- is to switch from one user to another user, switch user. Okay, so these are the commands which you have. And just to try to recall this, so without a group, we cannot add a user. So that's where we added a group. And so then next we added a user, and we talked about how do we add a user to another group as well, and how to set the password to the user, and finally how to switch from one user to another user. Okay, so that's what you have. All right, I see some questions already in the chat. Any questions? So question is it possible to add two users with the same name? No, that's not possible. That will not work. And second question, suppose I create many users, how to create password for each user? So one by one. Okay, so yeah, otherwise you have to do some scripting.
Raghu, username is case sensitive, right?
Right, Linux case sensitive. Anywhere it is case sensitive.
Yeah, okay. And one more thing, last thing I didn't understand properly. If you start as, I mean, if you log in as a root user and if you start a service like Apache or something, so it will affect all the supplementary users, you mean to say? I mean, hello?
I didn't get your point.
I mean, if you log in as a root user and if you started Apache service, HTTPD, so it will affect the supplementary users as well, which you created?
No.
Or they have to...
There is no supplementary user concept actually. The word itself is wrong. Okay, so there is only a user. That's it. User is a user.
So So every user system will be, it's like a fresh system. They have to install and configure everything, right? Separately.
No, I didn't see a relation between the questions you're asking. Like, is it a separate question or you're to the extension you're asking that? What?
No,
Okay,
it's a
what is your
separate.
confusion? Tell me your confusion rather than the technical point. Don't tell your technical point. Ask the question or confusion you have, so that I can answer it correctly.
I mean, I'm an administrator, suppose. So
Yeah.
if I want to, I created 2 or 3 groups. One group, I have to assign some systems. Like I want to start Apache service for one system, one group, and I don't want that to be one group. I can separate it like that.
No. You are actually going here and there. Okay. Why group is coming here? You start the process, it run as a user. Why group you are mentioning? Rephrase your question.
I mean, groups you will create to separate like that, right? I mean,
Group is a
I need to
separate
give
process.
some.
With the
Okay.
process you're running, group doesn't really matter. Okay. So group is to add a user, there is a requirement of a group. But to run a process, it always runs as a user. No group prominence come into picture.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And also one more question on the chat. So about multiple group. So adding a multiple group is quite simple, right? So you added a group add, and so one more group you add. So because you added a group here, you already know that how to add a group. So the same way you added a admins also. Now to how to add is there is a command called as user mod. It's not a user addition, right? It's a user modification. User mod and add him to the group. AG is the options you have to use, and John. Yeah.
Raghu, how do you remove one?
Yeah, go ahead, Murli.
How do we remove the user from the group, or how do we remove the group as well?
Explore. So how to add a user with a group, custom group ID, how to create a user, try to remove a user. Explore. You have a point actually. Start exploring. Yeah.
Raghu, my question was really how I can add John to multiple groups. So I just separate the groups names and put John in the end, or?
Yeah, that's it. The user mod command is telling you that, right?
Oh.
That's the syntax of the user mod command. So you have to give the group name and the user. Okay, one group at a time.
One group at a time.
I think so. I'm not sure whether it supports multiple groups as well. So that /etc group. Okay, so I can see a lot of groups here. So now let's see. No, this guy is a John user, he cannot add. So now that /etc group, and there are a lot of groups here. So user mod and -a -g, and let's give --help. Let's see what's actually it's actually telling. I also never tried that multi-group option. -a-G. So it's actually telling new list of groups. So that means you can add multiple groups. It's not a single group basically. It's multiple groups only. -a for adding. And so now if I go and view, like let's say CentOS group, I want to add, and probably there should be a delimiter between group to group. I am thinking that it can be a comma. I'm just thinking, and just give John. Okay, so at least you didn't got any error. So I think you can add multiple users also, multiple groups also. Yeah, so you can add them in a single shot also is fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Venkatesh, you're saying something?
Yes, yeah. See, as earlier, it was addition to the earlier question. Say, as you had mentioned, say when the hacker was hacking the system, if the user has an root privileges, then
Yeah.
he will get the access to the whole system, right? I think the previous question is related to that. If the user is creating the with that privileges, can the subsequent users will get the same privilege or not? I think that was this question. It was not my question. I was understanding in this way. The hacker will get the root user accesses, right? If I am having the root user access while I am using the system, the hacker will join the session. At that time, he will have the say is it earlier who was asking the subsequent users or something like that? Is it related to that, or I don't know? He was asking the question in that point of view. Just add to his yes.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's okay.
So,
You can go ahead.
Yeah, your point is also not completely applicable. If it is a root, doesn't really matter. Subsequent user, subsequent something, everything basically. No subsequent, it's everything. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. If it's normal user, also only that user only, not subsequent users again.
Yeah.
Anyone? Any other questions?
Raghu, what is the exact use of grouping, creating group? Is it only for creating the users, or is there any other useful for the creating groups?
It's an operating system, right? It's an operating system. So what is the use will? Some use will be there. You'll see it, not immediately.
Okay.
You'll see it. Right now,
Okay.
on the process side, you don't see any as something useful. But yeah, so coming up, you will see that information. Yeah, useful. So, but fundamentally understand, right? So grouping is a fundamental concept, right? So it's everywhere, right? It's a team, or you go to you go to schooling, there's a classroom, it's a grouping, right? And you got and you come to the office, it's a team, it's a grouping. Okay, everywhere the group is a fundamental concept. Why basically grouping is fundamentally you notate multiple people with a single thing, right? So rather than saying 100 people in the session, you can just call them as a group, so that it's easier for organizing, right? Operating system also does the same thing, but along with that, so there is some security also involved with the group, but not on the process side. So there is something else, permission side. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one which you have here is a pseudo-host concept. Now, so far you're actually logging as a root user. Okay, very happy, right? But in companies, even though we know the root user password, we might not directly log into the root user. Okay, so we will not do that. Okay, so then what I'll be doing? So usually the admin root user login is used only during some maintenances of the system, or some extreme cases that if you're not any user not able to log in, something you want to start troubleshooting kind of things. Only troubleshooting scenarios of a very particular scenarios only you'll be doing it. Okay, so we'll not allow to use the root user to log in directly in the organizations. Okay, in fact, someone was asking, like, so if someone tells you to kill the process, now even in certain organizations, someone will hold the root password. You will have the permissions to the system, you will have the full permissions to the system, but you will never have the root password. Then how do you do that? If you don't have a root user, then how do you gain the complete root permissions? Okay, complete administrator privileges. How do you access that? And there is something should be there, right? So that's where the pseudo concept comes into picture. Okay, so we usually create the users in the system. Okay, so we usually create the users in the system, and those users log into the system to do some work. But a normal user cannot do some admin activities. Also, at the standard practice, we cannot share we cannot log in as a root user. So to solve this particular problem, so we have an alternate option to log in as a normal user but perform as a root user. Okay, you will be logging as your own user, and from there you will be gaining the privilege to run the things as a root user. So that's where certain privilege escalation tools comes into picture. Like sudo is the very standard one in the operating system. But if you go for a bigger organization, so they need to have even a fine-grained control. So that's where they go with some third-party tools like Power Broker or Centrify or something. Okay, so there are a lot of tools around that area. And out of a lot of tools, sudo is one of the default and widely used tool. So hence we're discussing that now in our sessions basically. And so sudo configuration in the system is available in etc sudoers. I have to go to the etc sudoers file and say that, hey, John user can do this activity. John user can do the administrative activity of these activities. These activities in the sense commands. He can execute these commands. Now, if I go to the John user, he cannot execute a so I think the session is lost. Let me open another one. I can go to it's back. Yeah. Now I logged in as a John user. So if he try to add a group add, sorry, no space. So group add, like let's say a demo group, then he's getting permission denied. So as a normal user, he cannot actually do the things. But now let's say this John user is actually this John user is should be allowed to manage the users or manage the users and groups. Okay, so that is his role in the organization. Now he should be doing that. Okay, so and for that actually should be allowing him to do that. Okay, so then how do we allow him? So he's executing group add command, he's executing user add command. Okay, this much I want to give him access. So how do I give him? So the configuration file which is available, and you open that particular configuration file and you do that. But this is the main configuration file. Most of the time will not really need to touch this. So what you can do is you can maintain the sub configurations also available. etc sudoers.d so is a directory. You have some other so you can have the configuration in small pieces also. So if I open vim/etc sudoers, okay, so you open this particular file, it's a big file. Okay, so you don't know this particular big file, and okay, and actually now so where to keep and something like that come into picture. Okay, so that is where just to make it simplify, so what we're going to do is we can keep it in a small configuration file also. But the very important thing you need to understand is the sudoers configuration is this. You see this? User is equal to user space machine equal to commands. That's the syntax, and I already mentioned it here on the left side also. Okay, now okay, so either you can go to etc sudoers.d directory, okay, ls, and so here you're going to have some already some file. You can create one more file and it loads that particular configuration also. Okay, but as a beginner I would not suggest you to go with neither with etc sudoers file nor with even the etc sudoers key. Okay, why? There's a YouTube video, I mentioned it over here. Okay, so all right, so refer the following video. If you make a mistake, it breaks the whole sudo. You make a mistake with one user, okay, it just stops sudo working for every user. Yeah, that's a pain part. Okay, so that's where we have to be very careful while we are actually adding the sudoers configuration. So that's where there is a chance that you make a mistake. You're a human being, even I'm a human being, I can do the mistakes. Okay, I will do the mistake as well, but there should be something, okay, so which is avoiding the mistake, right? So that's what also we have to take a look. And that's where the sudoers itself, they provide a command called as vi sudo. With this particular file, you make some mistake, it will throw you an error saying that while you save the file, it opens in vi editor, but when you actually save the file, it will throw you an error saying that no, you're doing a mistake. So that's where you're safe, you'll not do the mistakes. That's where as a beginner I will suggest you to go with the vi sudo. I open vi sudo, it's actually opening the file. It's actually opening the file of sudoers here. So now here now the syntax you are saying is if you come down, the syntax will be there. So now here root user, it's already given all is the default group and default so things. So that's where now I want to go with the John. I want to go with the John. What it is telling, left side machine, which machine, the same sudoers configuration, you can go and keep it in multiple systems. Now while you take the same sudoers configuration and keeping in multiple systems, now think about the security perspective. On one machine only I want to allow him, on other machines I don't want to allow him. So then how do you do that? So you can just do some host names also you can specify, but I'm just using a local system, so that's where I'm giving all. Okay, if you're really interested how to do that, so explore sudo centralized configuration. Just type in internet. I mean, configuration is same, so but how to keep the machine names and all, you'll find out some examples. That's it. Now equal to, so commands, right? So what are the commands? So the commands are going to be is slash, you have to give the full path of, the command. So you can get the full path of the command by using type command. So type user add, you're going to get this is the full path. Okay, it's telling this is the full path. So you have to give the full path here, and comma, yes, comma space, and like let's say this guy also want group add also. So again the same thing but with group add. So instead of user, it's actually going to be group add. You cannot directly give just the command name. You have to give the full path of the command. Okay, the type command can help you where that command is residing in the system. Okay, it can give you the full path. Now done. So this John user is now ready to do the commands of user add and group add. Now let's go back to the previous command group add demo, but still I'm getting permission denied. Yes, still you're getting permission denied, but you have to tell to that, hey, I have a privilege. So you're telling to the sudo, hey sudo, I have a privilege, I want to run this command. Then sudo will validate your privilege. Okay, so now it is asking for your password, so just enter the password John. Now yeah, so cat /etc group. So now the group demo came into picture. Last line. Okay, so yeah, that's how we do the things. All right, so now let's say I don't bother about which command, I want to give all the commands. So then simple word all. So, yeah, I don't bother about any of the commands, then I can just go and give all equal to all. That's it, nothing more than that. So all equal to all. Okay, so now what that means, I can execute any command. That's it. Okay, that's the sudo verse. So from now on, no more root user. Will not log into the root user. So just as a beginner, I started the things with the root user. But from now on, so we will not use the root user. So we'll start using a normal user. So along with the root user, so there is another user in the operating system, from the image which you are using with my image, which is configured already, so you can start using that particular user. So if I just exit from the system, so I will go back to Katakoda prompt, and from here, from now on, no more root user. So now from now on, we'll always go with CentOS user, and the password is also the same password again. Okay, so here DevOps 321. Okay, so CentOS is the user, the default user, which I configured once again. That is also having the that's also having the same password. Okay, DevOps 321, and yeah, you can use that. All right. Yeah, I see a question. Isn't it all equal to all, giving the permission set as same as root? Of course, you're giving as a root, but everything is getting tracked. Okay, so now that John user did something right. So there is a system in the file. So cat/var log, and then secure. There's a file called as varlog secure. Varlog secure is tracking everything basically. So it's tracking that John user, what he's doing, right? So 5 for John. Okay, now you can see this John user actually trying to execute a group add command demo. So now since there is a track, there's no problem, right? So, but the person is supposed to do something. Root user will not, root is not a human being, right? He cannot perform something on it his own. So end of the day, a human being has to perform. And at the same time, we need to track who is doing what. The sudo will help you in tracking what is doing and also trying to help you in limiting the access as well. So even though you give access, you have a track, and also you can limit the access. Both the things are possible. Yeah.
So in this output, in that line, pwd next to the user is root. So is that different, or?
He is executing as a sudo, right? So sudo is trying to execute as a root user. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Executing the directory pwd John, I mean pwd home John. Okay, executing the command is this. Yeah. Yeah. Any questions? Any?
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm not following. Why is it user root? Why is he considered? Why is he John? Why is John as a user root?
Because the sudo will execute as a root user, right?
Oh,
sudo
okay.
by default, so the things are root user. Yeah. All right. So the next one. So the next one is I think something else I had given. So yeah, how to add now the group come into picture. Now let's say there are 100 users. Okay, so then adding a permission to 100 users, no, it's really a pain, right? So definitely not a good job. Okay, so that's where now the groups will help you. Okay, in this place, the groups will help you, and how to add to a particular group. Now all the users in that particular group gain the same privileges. All the users in that particular group will gain the same privilege. So that's how it's actually going to come, right? So try to find out how do you add to a group. You add it to a user, just a little bit explore, like so sudo how to add it in, how to add privileges using group, or if you read that file also is fine. That vi sudo you're opening, it's opening the configuration file. So if you read that file properly also, you have the information there only. Okay, but whatever it is, just try to explore that, and so that you'll get some understanding. All right. And the next one is actually today we'll try to talk about package management. Yeah, we have time, so we'll talk about package management and service management both. Okay, so yeah, now package management is a key admin activity basically you perform. So during during this work, basically whatever you do. All right, and so that's the reason. So you need to understand certain options over here in a much better way. Okay, so in Red Hat family, so basically it uses RPM. So RPM is nothing but Red Hat Package Manager. It's like same like Windows, you have .msi, right? So Microsoft installer. Okay, so Linux also you'll be having, Red Hat family you're having. If you go with Ubuntu, they use something else. Okay, now it's OS specific things. Okay, so vendor specific things. So it's .rpm. Okay, is the software you'll find out usually. Okay, and now earlier we used to install RPM command to use RPM, or earlier to install RPM we used to use RPM command directly. But using it has some problems like dependency problems. So that means if one package is actually dependent on another package, okay, so it's a pain basically. Okay, and also to avoid the local repository. So that means all the packages should be there on each and every system. No, that's not a good idea. So that's where, so it it allows you to make it centralized also. So that means the packages really need not to be on the system, and also at the same time it solves the dependency problem. So back in days when we don't have this particular dependency solving problem, now they came up with yum command, right? So earlier it is going to be without. Give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was saying something. Yeah, when this command was not there, it was really a pain basically. I still remember my first days of my career. So to install a simple web server, it just took literally, I think 1 month I took to set up a web server. Okay, so that much pain we used to have. So there was, you hardly find out solution on the internet. You don't know which package is missing, and internet is not that great, so back in 12, 13 years back. And so a lot of problems. I literally took 1 month to set up just a web server. Just to set up a web server, I took a 1 month. Okay, so I mean, there's some customization was needed. It's not as simple you just install a web server. So the application needed some certain modules to install all those modules, finding out the process, trying it out. It's a very big pain. But now you're actually, in a very luxurious world, I would say. Okay, you get it, you have yum command, and you don't really need to bother about anything. Everything comes out of box. Okay, so that's where they make the life really easy out there. Okay, so why yum command? Without yum command we call it as, it was really a pain basically. But yeah, Red Hat introduced solving that particular problem by using yum. So now yum is there. So the major problem it solves is dependency problem. What all the dependencies it is supposed to, a package should be installing, as package should be installing all these dependencies also, it will try to download and install. Okay, and that's where the local repository problems also it solves. Earlier back in days, we used to keep the complete CD or DVD ISO file into the system, and then we used to configure that, and we used to go, not configure, basically we used to go into that location and then we used to execute it. Okay, so but later actually central after this yum command, the central repository came into picture. So we use we can keep it on some place in the company's network only. We'll keep it in one network place, you can use it. Or even today's world, even much matured in the cloud world, we directly go to the internet. And at the same time we don't compromise the security perspective as well. Okay, so that also will be taken care by the yum. Everything is possible. So that's where okay, so we are going to use yum command now. So we don't really need to talk about the other commands like rpm command basically. Now, if you want to find out the packages which are already installed in your system, so then you just go for sudo yum and list installed. For getting the installation packages, sudo is not really needed, but still I'm using sudo. That's fine. So it is telling me these packages are already installed. Okay. So it's giving me the which package. x86 64 means I already told you that's a 64-bit means, right? And whatever the version it is installed. Okay, so this is how you get it. Now find out, like let's say you're pointing to a central repositories, right? Now there are a lot of packages which are ready to install also, which are available for install. You didn't install every software, you didn't install, but there are some packages which are available for install. So that's where yum list available comes into picture. Available. Okay, so you're getting so many. So I think if I can just go and view word count -l, So which is going to count the number of lines which is coming. Every line you have a separate package. It's almost close to 24,000 packages are there. Okay, so 25,000 packages available from the repositories which you have chosen. Okay, which are there already in the system. You haven't chosen, already there in the system. So these many packages are there, right? We don't want everything, by the way. Okay, whenever is needed, you can install that particular one. All right, and the next one is so yaml is going to show you installed plus available, installed plus all equal to installed plus available. So that means it will show you installed package and as well as available package. So, and also you can give yaml install and grep for starting with HTTPD. Cap means starting with HTTPD. It will tell you whether the package is already installed or not. So the package is already installed. How I can say that the package is already installed? You can use @ symbol. You see this? This @ symbol is telling that this package is already installed. And this without @ symbol at the third column says that those are available to install. All right, that's how you do that. Okay, so now probably I can install a package by using a very simple command, yum install a package name. So sudo yum install nginx, that's it. Okay, and just use nginx, enter. Now in the meantime, it just interrupts and asks you yes or no, right? So I'm pressing no, okay, and I'll go for -y directly on the command line. If I give that -y, okay, and automatically it will resolve, automatically it will go and use that as an yes answer and it will install. And also very important thing you have to understand here is Nginx is the package you are being asked to install, but there are other packages also getting installed automatically. Okay, so yeah. So yum install nginx. So you got that particular package. All right, now you can go for yum. If you want to remove a package, then you can just go for removing a package, remove. Yum remove nginx, that package will be removed. That's it. And like let's say if you want to update some packages, yum update httpd-y. So some package, if there is any update you want to install, then yum update will help you. Okay, this httpd package is really not marked for any update. It's already up to date. It's not doing anything. Otherwise, you can update that particular package. Also, you can update the complete operating system by using yum update -y. Okay, yum update -y. Very simple options, right? Yum list is going to list the packages, yum list all, and yum install is going to install, yum remove is going to remove, yum update is update. Update is very rare, but yeah, yum install is what we are using, and yum remove. Simple, right? But did you wonder that where these packages are getting downloaded and installed? Okay, it just goes just like to the internet. Okay, or it goes to the specific locations. Okay, so yeah, so we need to find out that, right? So however, if you wonder yum is how is managing the installations and also how it is downloading the package, so yum actually refer the locations inside etc yum.repos.d. If you go to cd/etc yum.repos.d to ls, so there are some repo files here, and using those repo files, it will try to go into those locations. And if I just give head of EPL repo file, it's a big file, so I'm just getting the first 10 lines. Now you see there's a repository. It is telling that you go to this URL and find out the packages. It's not really just going on something like that. Okay, so it's actually going to that location. So now for an example, you have yum install jenkins.y. Okay, so yum install jenkins, sudo yum install jenkins -y. So Jenkins is a very common software, you might have heard about that. Now I try to install that particular package. It is saying that no, Jenkins is not available, no package Jenkins available. Now in any of the repositories, in those 24,000 packages, whatever you have, Jenkins is not there. Okay, because the Jenkins location is not configured in your system. Now how can you do that is you can just go and try to download these files, but this will not work. Why? Because it's supposed to be run as a root user. Let me run them as a root user. So this call command call. You got now a new file supposed to be, where is that? Endpoint.repo. Okay, you got it. Now previously also endpoint is a repo. I'll just go to root user and I'll execute this once again. Yeah, etc repository Jenkins.file. So now cd/etc. By the way, what is the command I executed to become a root user? I forget to mention this. Sudo su hyphen. Su hyphen will take you to the root user. Su hyphen will take you to the root user. Or you don't bother about that also. Make it very simple. Sudo hyphen I will take you to the root user. Okay, hyphen I means, so what hyphen I is telling, sudo hyphen help. So hyphen I is telling is a login. Okay, so yeah, login as a root user. By default, it's always root user. So that's where sudo hyphen I also will help you. It's up to you. Sudo su hyphen will switch to the root user. So that means you're putting sudo behind. That means okay, you're using a sudo privilege and switching to other user. Now sudo, you have the sudo privilege. The CentOS has a privilege already configured in the system. That's where he can enter into the system without any issues. m.repos.d and do ls, and there is a jenkins.repo file. So now you're telling that jenkins.repo, hey, you can go into this location and find get the packages. Now you go and give yum install Jenkins. Okay, now the package got installed. How it got package installed? Because you added a new location to the system, and that's where it's actually showing you the Jenkins is available there. Okay, and it is getting and downloading. So if you're not able to find out the package, then what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to set the locations inside the repo files inside etc m.repos.d. Okay. Now sometimes some people will not provide the repos also, but they provide RPMs. Like if you go to elastic.co, this one of the guy Elasticsearch, which we'll use in our sessions also. This guy will not provide any kind of a repo file, but he will directly give the RPM. If you go to any software, he will provide the RPM 64-bit. So he will provide the RPM. What you have to do is you have to copy this link address and you have to come and install that. Okay. So now what I wanted to do is, in that case also it is possible. You can directly give this particular one. So yum install and you give the URL also will work. Okay, it will download and it will install that particular command. So that's about the package management. Okay, it's saying it's already there. That's okay. All right. So you can install the packages just by using yum command and install, remove, whatever you are looking for. Clear? Any questions?
To download curl we are using, right? Okay.
No, yum can download and install. Yeah, that's the beauty.
Okay. So no need of curl here then.
Yeah. Anyone? Any other questions?
Raghu?
Yes, Alish.
So what is the main difference between this yum and curl and wget? Is there any importance then? If the yum is used means, then what is the importance of the two comments?
Yum and wget you are saying?
Yeah, curl and wget.
Curl and wget I already told you, right? So curl can do more than wget. Wget is just only a downloader, but curl is a browser and as well as the downloader at the same time.
So if the yum is used, then what is the importance of that two comments? We can't be using now.
Okay, if you are dealing with only with the package, then yum command. Only with the RPM, then yum command. Okay, so the downloading software never always need not to be RPM, right? The downloading software can be something else. I'm downloading a movie, I'm downloading a music file, then yum command cannot help you. So call or wget will help you.
Okay. Yum is used for all packages.
Yum is a package manager. This is under the section of package management. Yeah. Any other questions? I think we can wrap it up. So to time up. So service management we'll talk it in later. But yeah, any questions?
Hope we have class tomorrow also, right? Saturday.
Yeah, we have tomorrow also.
Okay. Only Sundays already.
Sunday, yeah. Yeah. Anyone? Any other questions?
Monday to Saturday,
right? Monday to Saturday, exactly. For Indian folks, but for US folks, it is Sunday to Friday. Anyone? Any other questions, confusions?
Maybe after we practice these things, so maybe we may get some questions or confusions. Yeah.
So from today, you will start receiving the emails. Actually, I'll start collecting the details. So you will start receiving the access to the Slack. So tomorrow I'll show you how do you deal with the Slack and how do you start communicating to me directly after the session. Okay, how to reach to me, I'll show you in tomorrow's session. But do check with your organizers that, if you're not receiving the email, that means your organizer has not updated me the details. So, but do check with them, and yeah. So yeah, and they'll update me, and yeah, we'll be taken care. All right. So any other questions? Okay, all right. Yes, Sandil.
Actually, tomorrow's session we can able to attend, right?
Tomorrow, sorry.
Tomorrow's
tomorrow's
session we can.
Session you'll be able to attend. So I'm just saying that
we will get the mail from the organizers. Yeah.
Yeah, Slack email. I'm saying yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
If you haven't received that invitation, then that means your organizer has not updated. So do check with your organizer. Yeah.
Okay, but while logging in daily, I'm updating with my mail ID. So with that mail ID only, I will get the mail, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So thank you, and see you in tomorrow's session.
Thank you. Bye.